The disappearance of 20-year-old Heather Elvis is a mystery that's puzzled police in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. She vanished in the early morning hours. All that remained was her car, parked in an eerie place called Peachtree Landing.
I definitely think Heather went to Peachtree with intentions to meet someone that she knew and that she trusted. I don't think that she would have went to the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night just because.
Thousands in South Carolina joined police looking for Heather. They searched for months. Then, the Horry County Police Department arrests 2 people.
Charges of murder in the disappearance of 20-year-old Heather Elvis have now been leveled against Tammy and Sidney Moorer.
Sidney Moorer had an affair with Heather. Police say his wife Tammy threatened her. They're charged with the kidnapping and murder of Heather Elvis.
I am beyond 100% sure that the people that are charged are the ones that they need to be charging with it since day one.
The Moorers are also charged with obstruction of justice and, strangely enough, indecent exposure. That was part of their alibi when first questioned by the cops. A police report shows the Moorers claimed they were having sex in their car when Heather went missing. Now the accused deadly duo want everyone to know their arrest has been a rush to judgment.
I would just urge people not to reach a conclusion, but not to assume that someone's guilty simply because they've been arrested and charged.
It's being put to me, if your client didn't do it, who did it? And that's a very bizarre thing to say.
And some are asking, how can there be a murder charge without a body?
Just because you can't find a body doesn't mean that the person hadn't been murdered.
The prosecution's evidence against the Moorers is all circumstantial. They have numerous threatening texts from Tammy to Heather to end the affair with her husband, Sidney. One text read in part, quote, "Someone's about to get their beat down. Your is about to take his last breath. You can tell me where you are right now, or I will find out another way. That way won't have a great turnout for you. I'm giving you one last chance to answer before we meet in person. Only one." Prosecutors say Tammy's jealousy was so intense, she sometimes handcuffed Sidney to the bed at night. But is that enough for a murder conviction?
It doesn't mean anything in terms of evidence or intention or proof.
The prosecution came up with a timeline during those crucial hours before Heather disappeared. Here's what they think happened based on phone records, witness statements, and video evidence. 1:35 a.m., police allege Sidney Moorer called Heather from a payphone. The call lasts for almost 5 minutes. At 1:44 a.m., police also say Heather then calls her friend Brianna.
She told me Sidney had called her. He said that he left his wife and that he missed me and he wanted to see me.
Phone records indicate Heather calls Sidney's cell phone at 3:17 a.m. Prosecutors determined that Heather is still at her apartment and that Sidney is still at his house. Authorities believe after that conversation, Heather gets into her car and then drives 3 miles to Peachtree Landing. At 3:36 a.m., a private residence camera captures a dark-colored truck coming from the direction of Sidney's house, heading towards Peachtree Landing. Another camera at a business location records the truck getting closer to Heather's location. Heather's cell phone pings show she is now parked at Peachtree Landing and repeatedly calls Sidney's cell phone from 3:38 a.m. to 3:40 a.m.
And the last call that Heather makes that's live is 3:41 a.m. And that's a 1-minute call or an attempted call. And authorities say that the phone goes dead shortly after that. There's no other data from her phone.
Around 3:46 a.m., the same black truck ID'd by police is the same vehicle heading back in the direction of the Moorer's house. Again, the video surveillance cameras capture it all. The police believe that the black truck belonged to Sidney and Tammy Moorer. The couple does own a black truck similar to what was caught on camera.
The defense, of course, saying there are a number of black trucks that might travel this road. How can you be so sure that it was Sidney's truck? We don't believe it was.
Sidney and Tammy had been held without bond for several months. Their attorneys convinced a judge to allow them out for $100,000 each.
Tammy, how can you be out of jail right now?
They've got to wear GPS monitoring, and they've got to be within outside of a 5 mile radius of Heather Elvis's family, and no contact with the Elvis family as well.
It's now been almost 2 years since Heather went missing, and the most talked about murder trial in South Carolina has not begun. Numerous delays have only increased speculation as to the strength of the prosecution's case.
Whether a trial happens or not, we may never know what happened to Heather Elvis.
And this one is an absolute stunner. A judge allows Sidney and Tammy to move from their home in South Carolina to Florida until the start of the trial.
Tammy and Sidney's attorneys argued to the judge that they needed work, that Sidney needed work and had an option or an opportunity to apply for a job in Florida.
I don't see how someone who is charged with murder at the end of the day should be allowed to leave the state.
I was beyond outraged when I heard it. I'm numb to it at this point.
Because you have to live every day without your daughter, so why should they have to?
Yes. It's to me, it's like rewarding them. I don't understand it.
Despite all the drama and all the distractions, Heather Elvis is still missing. So many people who either know or don't know her want her to come home today. And if someone has killed her, justice must prevail.
If Heather could hear this today, or if she's watching, or anything, what would be your message to her?
I would love for Heather to be at home right now. I would give anything for Heather to be at home right now.
We'll never give up.
We'll never stop searching. We'll never stop looking. We'll never stop asking questions.
And no date has yet been set for the trial of Sidney and Tammy Moorer. If you have any information on the disappearance of Heather Elvis, you can submit a tip on our website or call or text our toll-free tip line, that number, 1844 800 CRIME.